I'm not sure if this is going to work, but I'm going to give it a try. A lot of you are having trouble with Wardell's tutorials, so I made some notes after watching it and noted that there are a few things that he leaves out because he doesn't talk through his process the way I talk through mine on my tutorials. That isn't to say that his way is wrong, it's just that there are things that he's doing that pop up on the screen that you may not be aware of. I actually had to go back through and watch his videos and made some comments which I've typed into the top of this page. So I'm going to watch his video from the point where he starts, and then I'm going to stop it and then go back to this Adobe Illustrator file that I've set up with these notes on it to note the differences and so forth of how I would change the way he's done his tutorial. So holding the Command key down, since I'm on a Macintosh, and tapping the Tab key, I'm going to tab over to his video and watch a little bit of it and see if it actually records while I'm watching it.
Now the very first, most basic thing to know how to draw with a pen is...
Okay, notice how this pops up here? That's the Shift key. He's holding the Shift key down so that when he, after clicking up here, he's going to click down here, and holding the Shift key down, it will drop this second point down exactly vertically below the first one.
A line. So click on one point, I'll hold down the Shift
Again,
key.
he's holding the Shift key here. One other subtle thing that you don't see happening is every time he draws a line, he holds the Command or Control key down to deselect the pen tool as he's drawing. Let me show you what that looks like. So if I draw a line, I hold the Shift key down. See that green line that pops up? That's what's called a Smart Guide. That lets me see that I'm directly below this point. Holding the Shift key down will constrain that. So even if I clicked over here, it's going to draw a line straight down. Now here's where holding the Command key down while I have the pen tool selected changes to the selection tool. Now when I click, it deselects this line. So getting back to Wardell's, he's still holding the Shift key down, and it's constraining it to a 45-degree angle.
Now, up from the line is now the curve.
So again, see the smart quotes, or excuse me, the smart guides.
Start off making the same kind of basic line, and then I go and click it.
Watch down here. See that Shift C?
Click on the...
What the Shift C tool does when you're in Illustrator, okay, so I'm going to draw the line the same way he did, holding the Shift key down. Watch what happens here if I hold down this little triangle on the bottom of this tool. It gives me a variety of other choices. One of them is the Convert Anchor Point tool, or Shift C for keyboard shortcut. So rather than go all the way up to this and change this tool, with this pen tool selected, he just holds the Shift key down and hits the letter C, and it automatically converts to that symbol, which then allows me to click on the anchor points and change them the way he changed them in his video. So again, I'm holding the Shift key down, and I'm trying to align it, this anchor point to this anchor point, so this curve is nice and smooth. And that's what he's showing in his video, but again, he's just not talking you through every process or every part of the process. One of the main processes being that he's using keyboard shortcuts as opposed to going all the way over here and changing the pen tool into the Convert Anchor Point tool.
Point and kind of drag it out. Hold down the Shift key to keep that
Constrained.
lines on a straight path. Now the trick to get like a good curve, really, so you know a curve that would be like maybe part of a circle is to try to make sure that these arm handles kind of line up.
One other way to get the handles to line up, if you notice there's a little bit more of a gap here than there is here, so they're not exactly accurate. But one other way to do that is to pull out from your ruler a blue line. And I can line it up with this handle right here so that when I want to, and I'm holding the command key down to convert this, now these two handlebars go out to the same spot. And that way the curve from here to here matches the curve from here to here, only it's a mirror image. And that's what he's portraying on his video.
For demonstration purposes. Okay, and then the next one is the more complicated one, slightly. But once you learn the curve, adding on to this is not, doesn't make it, that more complicated. Doesn't make it too complicated.
So again, Shift C. He gets the convert point tool. And then he's going to make this one into an S by changing the direction.
Where it's a curve, I went and pull it in the same direction as the other one there. Just go the opposite way. And we can get just kind of a simple curve.
So those are basic tools that he's showing on this first video. I'm going to go ahead and do the exact same thing that he did. I'm going to back it up. Notice that the blue line disappeared. Notice that the lines are disappearing. So I'm going to start from scratch and do exactly what he did, only I'm going to walk you through the process just a little bit differently. Again, to get a straight line, you just click, hold the Shift key down. You can see my Smart Guide here. Click again, and that gives me a line. One thing you might want to do or get in the practice of doing, notice how this box is white? This is the fill. It's not going to matter so much on this particular illustration because they're simple lines and there's a white background behind them. But one of the things you might want to get into the habit of doing is changing the fill so that it has no fill at all, which is represented by the red line here. That'll make a lot of sense a little bit later on, but for right now, try and get into the habit of doing this so that you're not having a white box or white shape over what you're trying to draw. So here again, with the pen tool selected, if I can continue to click, it's going to continue to add points. So what I want to do is deselect that line. I'm going to back this up by hitting Command Z, Command Z, Command Z. Now, since the line is still selected, I'm going to hold the Command key down, change it to the selection tool, click so that it deselects this one, and then do another line. Here again, this green line shows that this next point that I draw is going to be lined up with the top of this one. So I'm going to click here, Shift key down, click here. Again, that other green line pops up and shows me that I'm now lined up with the bottom. Click there. Now again, two different ways to change this curve is either to go up here, hold this down until you get to the Convert Anchor Point tool, or notice Shift plus C also gives you the same result. It'll change the tool to that. Then when I click on the bottom and drag the cursor to the right, holding the Shift key, if I don't hold the Shift key down, it's going to give me a really weird looking curve. So if I hold the Shift key down, it's going to constrain to a 90 degree. And I'm going to pull it all the way over to where it's almost, the handlebar's almost touching right here. Then again, I'm going to let go, click here, and drag this way. And try and get it lined up pretty close to that bottom handlebar down here. Again, if I want them to be exact, I can go over to the ruler and pull out a blue line, set it right on that handle, and it looks like I got it pretty close. The next thing he did to drag this C over to the right is he held the Command key down and also the Option key and clicked on this item. Then he held the Shift key down and tabbed it over with the right cursor key that's on your keyboard to move this C character over to the right to get it more centered. Lastly, I went back up to the pen tool. I'm going to click another line, again lining it up with the top of the C, holding the shift key down, clicking to the bottom where it's lined up with the bottom of the C and the I. This time I'm going to use the shift and the letter C to get the convert anchor point tool and pull my anchor point to the left, holding the shift key down to get that curve. And then I'm going to go up to the top anchor point tool and pull it to the right, pull it to the left also, or the opposite direction, to get what looks like an S. These curves can continue to be manipulated by pulling on these handles and holding the shift key down. To get larger or smaller curves here to make it look like an S. So if you were having trouble with that, let me run back through what I wrote up here. Like most professionals, Wardell uses the uses the keyboard command. Let me erase that. Keyboard shortcuts. The selection tool is chosen by hitting the letter V. The only time this won't work is when you're editing text. So since I've been editing text here, if I hit the letter V, it's going to give me a V right in the middle of my text here that I have selected. So rather than doing that, I'm going to hold the the command key down and click so that it deselects all of that. Now when I click the pen tool, using just the letter P, it changes to the pen tool. Shift C, while I have the pen tool selected, changes the cursor again to the convert anchor point tool, which allows you to alter these paths. Notice that there are lines that pop up while Wardell is drawing. These are the guidelines or the smart guides. You can turn that on and off by going up to View, Smart Guides, and clicking. Notice how there's a check mark here? You can also hit Command U. So now there are no smart guides. So again, Command U, now the smart guides are back. The way to select the Convert Anchor Point tool without keyboard shortcuts is to click on the pen tool holding the mouse down until the Convert Anchor tool is selected, and I've already shown you how to do that. So for those of you who have been having difficulty with this assignment, I understand your frustration, and this video was in an effort to fix that frustration. I'm also going to send this to Wardell because he and I are working professionals, and I know that if he is planning on continuing to do these exercises, I'm hoping that this tutorial will also aid him in his video education on YouTube.